Ignite. An intransitive verb meaning to begin to glow, to give life or energy to someone or something. We know it's impossible to make something glow when you're surrounded by daylight or basking in sunshine. It's only when you're gripped by the darkness of the night that you suddenly appreciate what a little light can do. Cantor Leopold Szneer's bright future as a distinguished soloist was all but snuffed out when the Nazis came to power. An eyewitness to Kristallnacht and survivor of multiple concentration camps, he personally faced death repeatedly, and but for the grace of God, lived to tell the tales. The powerful tenor, whose voice had once filled the great synagogue in Munich, now lay in hiding in a concentration camp barrack, quietly singing from memory selections of the Rosh Hashanah service. His heartfelt cries piercing the hearts of the terrified Jews, and no doubt piercing the heavens themselves. And for organizing this clandestine, haphazard service, he was sentenced to 3 weeks of solitary confinement, a punishment almost worse than death itself. Poldy, as he was lovingly known, would face the angel of death no less than 9 times during the war. But his life of hell was belied by his indomitable spirit to forge on, to ignite, to glow, to give life and energy to someone or something. He was in the thick of the darkness, and thus he understood how important that flicker of light was. How else can you explain how a man crouched in silence in an attic for 9 months and survived? Who endured the excruciating pain of being struck by a soldier's brass knuckles, a pain that would never leave him for as long as he lived, or whose life was saved when he fortuitously followed the advice of a rabbi who appeared to him in a dream, warning him not to escape. Leopold Szneer was an ember snatched from the jaws of death, a walking miracle who radiated warmth and sunshine upon all who knew him. The war was barely over when he found himself leading the most emotional high holiday service of his life for hundreds of survivors. Sitting upstairs in the women's gallery, a beautiful girl, herself a survivor with experiences all her own, wondered who that cantor was with his striking appearance and golden voice. Who could sing that way? Who could pray to God with so much feeling, with so much love? Who could stand before God and represent the 1.5 million children who had been murdered amongst the 6 million martyrs? Young Isabelle was determined to find out, and indeed she did. She listened sadly to Poldy's tragic tales, but at the same time she felt herself being uplifted by his optimism and faith in mankind, and she knew instantly that this was the person with whom she wished to share the rest of her life. Their wedding was the first in post-war Brussels, and soon afterwards the couple moved to Southern California, where Leopold would achieve acclaim as a cantor who could fuse the past, the world that was, with the present, the world that is. In his more than 30 years at Magen David congregation in Los Angeles and then at Chabad of Westlake, he officiated at thousands of bar mitzvahs and weddings, but most importantly, instilled in his students and couples to be a faith and a never-ending belief, as es wird sein besser, that things will definitely get better. It was this bright outlook on life and his gifted voice that landed him in the White House performing before President Reagan and over 800 guests. It was his reassuring, beautiful blue eyes that connected him so deeply to both young and old at Chabad of Westlake Village. And it was his joie de vivre that buoyed him through his numerous surgeries and debilitating health challenges. Cantor Szneer's life has been well documented on the internet, at Chapman College's Holocaust Studies Department, and in Spielberg's Shoah Foundation. But despite the fanfare, he remained unpretentious and down to earth, and for this he was venerated by so many. Exactly 1 year ago, at the 2016 Chabad Banquet, moments before I was to step up to this very podium, I was called away to Los Robles Hospital, where this giant of a man had returned his precious soul to his maker. How fitting it is that tonight, 1 year later, with great humility and reverence, I ask his wife of 69 years, Mrs. Isabelle Szneer, to please join me on the stage, as together we honor her husband's courage, love of life, and incredible ability to ignite optimism and joy in the hearts of so many by accepting the Cantor Leopold Szneer Champion of the Spirit Award. Ladies and gentlemen, Mrs. Isabelle Szneer. The award reads, presented to Mrs. Isabelle Szneer in loving memory of Cantor Leopold Szneer, a true champion of the spirit whose heroism and nobility touched the lives of thousands.
Rabbi, I was so moved just listening by your speech. I haven't cried since my husband died, but you made me cry now. I thank you so much. My husband was a special person. He was loved by everybody. Everybody loved Baldi. He was an excellent educator. He was a wonderful Chazan. He loved everybody. There was no bad person that he knew of. Everybody was good. He went through so much. He had no hate in his heart for what people did to him. He always looked for goodness. He was a mensch. If you want to traduct mensch in English, the closest you can get is a human being. He was a wonderful human being. For the people who knew him here in Westlake Village and surrounding, you know how wonderful he was. He gave of himself to anybody. He wanted to help anybody. I was married to him for 69 years. We were hoped to celebrate his 70th. He couldn't make it. Every night he blessed me, and then he said to me, Isabelle, do you think that I will still have a few good years? And I used to tell him, yes. How long do you think will I have? And I said, certainly 10 good years, when I knew that there was no hope. God took him away because he cannot suffer any longer. I wish he would be here, talking to you instead of me, telling me how much he loved you.
He's on the screen.
And
He's right there on the screen.
right, oh,
He's on the screen. His picture.
okay. And I'm very honored to get whatever you gave me. Whatever you gave me. I'm so...
Can you see the picture of Cantor?
I'm so emotional that I really don't know what I'm saying. From all my heart, thank you. And it is an honor for me to share this evening with the mayor. Congratulations. I wish you all well, and you should only have goodness in your heart.
Thank you.